Welcome to Chalk and Code,
where the science of learning meets modern technology.
We're bringing together entrepreneurs, product leaders, researchers, and advocates
to spark ideas, challenge assumptions, and shape the future of learning.
If you've ever started an online course with the best of intentions and quietly stopped somewhere along the way, you are not alone. Most online programs see completion rates in the single digits. But my guest today is building something very different. Meet Leonard Lafrance. He is the president of NCLab, a vocational training company that is seeing nearly 100% of learners actually finishing their programs. And more importantly, leave with real job-ready skills. Leonard's background spans software, entrepreneurship, and education. And at NCLab, he is challenging the idea that learning should be passive or lecture-driven. Instead, he's focused on learning by doing, where students are building, practicing, and getting feedback from day one. We're going to talk today about why online learning struggles so much and what it takes to truly prepare people for work. Leonard, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, so welcome to Chalk and Co.
Thank you.
So just touching a little bit on disrupting that online crisis of how folks are approaching online learning. So with completion rates in online education, they are notoriously low. And yet at NCLab, you are an outlier. At a high level, what do you think most online platforms get wrong about how people actually learn?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think I understand from my own history how people need to learn and how the systems don't work very well. Mostly it has to do with people being able to pay attention, concentrate, be willing to solve problems. They need to be able to perform in the same way they might have to perform on a job when you're in training. And so what we do in training, what we've learned is that the learning by doing is a way to give people the satisfaction of having learned what you just taught them. It doesn't motivate, and you don't have a feeling that you're learning. And so it's really confidence doesn't get built. Anyways, that's part of what we're doing different.
So yeah, if you want to give us a little bit more about what you do at NC Labs, what it's all about, how did you get started? Why did you go there? Just let us know.
Yeah, no, I'd love to talk about NCLab. It's a whole new way of doing things, a radical new way of doing things. It's not seat time. Our education system is often built based on listening to somebody at a blackboard or listening to somebody's lecture, and then, being assigned work that you're on your own. Okay. Basically, you have to do the work. Nobody's helping you. You're not building confidence as you're doing the work because there's nobody saying, yes, you got it right. Yes, you got that. Okay, congratulations, you got that. That's the gamified. That's what this professor figured out, is that if I can have you feel like I'm with you, okay, because the platform is with you, if it can actually make you feel like you're getting it, like you're persevering, and it's helping you. And when you get done, you feel like, oh my God, I really know how to do this. It's the same as a game on your phone. That game, why do people do it? Why do I play one? It's because I get the satisfaction of solving the problem, and that's really what this solution is about, and what NC
Yeah. When you take a look at learner engagement over a long program, so hundreds of hours, what design principles matter most to keeping people motivated, as we talked about before, all the way through?
Yeah, so I think what works is that you give them small pieces of information, and if you can gamify it, it's even better. If you can actually make people feel like they're on their phone, they're playing a game, but instead they're actually learning. The result is magic. They never quit. That's why we have this unbelievable completion rate, because people are like, okay, maybe you're not going to play the game on your computer, on your phone today, but tomorrow you go back to it. It's like fun.
Have you gone through one of the programs yourself to kind of see like what?
Yes, I did. In fact, I did that right from the beginning. I did SQL because I wanted to see how this Professor Solon, that invented this method of training. He told me about it, and I was an angel. We sold our company, so I was an angel, and I looked at what he did, and I actually tried it, and I said, "This is unbelievable that you can actually train somebody and make them job ready."
Yeah. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about what you saw, I guess, is your experience? Like, what were you seeing in the workplace, I guess, and like what maybe like,
Well, we had a company uh, that I founded, and it grew to 250 people. It ended up being sold to a public company. But what happened is they were all developers. We were a software development company. And most of the people that I hired were not capable programmers, even though they were all programmers, even though they were all, we were hiring, this is in the 1990s. We hired only people that were supposedly capable programmers. And I'll tell you, there were about 5 out of the 250, there were about 5 that I trusted to work on our product. The rest of them, they worked on contract for our customers developing interfaces, but I didn't trust them to touch our tool. So I learned that people are not programmers even when they're called programmers. You know, they've learned little bits from looking at somebody else's code. They've learned here and there, but they've never actually done it from beginning to end. Subject matter experts, in fact, is what we produce. That's a very different way.
yeah, I totally agree. I don't think, I've never learned well from lectures or somebody telling because I don't think it's possible to consume that information in that moment. Like I need to go back, I need to sit with it, and like the likelihood of me actually doing something. I see your point. I totally agree, and definitely from even like the engineering perspective, like but that shift from passive consumption to active skill building, learning by doing. It sounds very intuitive, but yet it's kind of rare. What do you think convinced you that this approach was the right foundation for NC Labs? I mean, you talked about your experience and kind of what you'd been seeing, but how did you, I guess, come to that realization? So I brought that to NC Lab.
Yeah. Well, NCLab was built from the beginning by this professor. And what he did, he was in Nevada. He went to rural communities to talk about STEM to the school. And he found out that the teachers were not knowledgeable. The kids had no hope to learn without somebody building something that they could use. And that's how NC Lab got started about 15 years ago. And so as a result, he was able to build this learn by doing platform. There's a platform that he puts the content into, and then the platform actually leads the trainee step by step and makes sure that they actually can use what they just learned on every topic.
Yeah. You touched a little bit about gamification and like how making it sort of fun, like it takes you through a program. But how do you feel like that gamification, real time feedback changes a learner's mindset compared to like traditional online learning?
Well, the real challenge with traditional online training is if you start at a level that the person is not able to keep up, they quit. They say, I'm not able to do it. And so I think that's a lot of the problem we have is that we haven't made sure it's like a ladder. When you're climbing a ladder, if you skip some of the rungs of the ladder, you won't do well. Then pretty soon you'll feel like you're lost and can't go on. So the other thing we do, knowledge and skill. So what we understand is knowledge is what you need, but skills is what you make use of the knowledge for. And I think a good example is riding a bicycle. Let's think about riding a bicycle. You can read a book about riding a bicycle and you say, oh, okay, I got it, right? And then you try to get on, okay? That's going from knowledge of how a bike works to actually trying to use it. And when you try using it, that's skill. It's completely different. It's a whole different animal. And I think the challenge is that if we don't make you try to ride the bike, even though you've read the book about riding a bike, you're not going to be able to ride a bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Because I had tried.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit about closing that experience gap. You talked a little bit about that as well. And so employers have often said, candidates, they lack that real world readiness. And from your perspective, what do you think actually makes somebody job ready on day one?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's very clear, but why is it? I want to describe the problem we have at NC. What we do when we train people and they go get a job is that the employer says, oh, you just got trained. You're not qualified. Okay. Absolutely decide that the person is not capable. But I want to give you an example. We had a young lady that went to work for American Airlines in a group of 12 developers. 2 weeks into the job, after our training, her boss brought her in and said, you know more than the entire team, okay, about programming in Python. Can you imagine? That's like, well, wait a minute. How could you know more? It's because she had learned everything. She was a subject matter expert on Python. And the rest of the people had learned it at the job, this piece, that piece. That's the power of this. But the problem we have is our employers are not willing to take somebody on that just came out of training.
Yeah.
So that is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How do you feel like building practical work during training changes the way employers evaluate NCLab graduates versus like somebody with a traditional education background?
Well, we're having that problem that unless we have employers look far enough into the the badges, because the badges describe exactly what the person's done. And so we've switched now to using badges, electronic badges. And that way the employer can say, well, what do they really know? Okay. And then they realize, oh my God, this person's done all these projects. The person a developer, was not a trainee.
Yeah. So maybe we could talk a little bit about, as we're talking about building practical work and I guess entering the workplace. What role do you think so far? And AI is obviously a hot topic for everybody. I don't know. Have you seen like a change, I guess, from employers, like sort of focus more on that? And I guess how are you implementing AI, I guess, at NC Labs? And I guess what does the future of that look like for you?
Where does AI? We are believers in AI, because I think what we're hearing was that a developer, a capable developer, let's take a programmer, a capable programmer can do the work of 5 programmers with AI. If you're not a capable programmer, you can't use AI to do programming. So where the employers, I think, are going to see the real value is you need to have capable programmers, but you don't need very many of them because if you have AI in combination with a capable programmer, you're going to get that much more value.
Yeah. Is that something that you all are considering as far as like a program? Maybe something related to AI? Is that
The way we're looking at AI is more in training. Okay. So what we want to do in AI is, like, for example, we use it to give people hints. So when they're working on a project, we teach them a byte of information, we make them use it, and during the time you're using it, they have problems. So we use AI to give them hints. We say, okay, you're having a problem. uh, I'll give you a hint. After we give you 5 hints, then we'll get somebody involved. If you're not able to, after the hints get better and better, and sooner or later, you're going to be able to do it without ever needing to talk to someone. So that's really the way we're using it. But we're also teaching the developer to use AI as part of the training, to actually see how you can use it to write some code and so forth.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. Maybe we could talk a little bit about growth without losing your mission, your quality, your accessibility. NCLab partners with colleges and workforce agencies. What do you find to be the hardest thing about scaling an education model without diluting what makes it effective?
Well, I think we have scalability automatically because we're self-paced online platform. So there is no, we're using it in Africa, for example. In Zambia, we have women engineers that want to differentiate themselves from men engineers because in that country, engineering is men's job, not a woman's job. So they're using our training to make the women get a competency, in this case, data analytics, that the men engineers don't know. And so when they're going out to get a job, they're able to say, well, I also know data analytics, and it makes a big difference. So, so it's exciting because we're using it in Ghana to let people work in Europe while they're in Ghana. They don't need to move. They don't need to go across the Mediterranean to get the opportunities that are in Europe and opportunities that are in the US. We're seeing that development. So the scalability is it goes anywhere. It can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
To build off of that, looking ahead to a world where reskilling is constant, what role do you think vocational education will play in the broader education ecosystem?
Well, it's going to be playing a very large role because I'm sorry to say, people. I hear even Amazon is saying it's spending a couple of $1 billion to try to upskill people because they're disappointed with the way the educational system is not preparing people with the right skill set. So it is a huge, huge opportunity.
Have you seen in your experience, have you seen that shift yourself where people are sort of like foregoing a college education to do something, like a vocational education?
We get some of them. Some of our, trainees come in that direction. We are now working with high schools in Nevada, where we're exposing the high schoolers to an opportunity when they get done, and workforce development pays for their training to get them a skill and a job on the way to college even. It's not like you're eliminating college, but college is not something that you necessarily need to start with.
Not anymore. Yeah. I don't think so. Okay. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about the future of NC Labs, the future of where you think education is going to go. But what gives you the most optimism about your role and what you're seeing in the space, and about education in general?
Well, I think optimism, what I'm realizing is that we have to change how we do things. And that's part of why I joined this company. That's part of the reason that I'm uh, playing the role that I am, is I want us to be able to let the people that can. I didn't get a chance to mention again the way we uh, let people take our training. We don't just let everybody just walk in and say, "Hey, I'd like to do this. I've got the money. Can I do it?" No. What we do is we make sure to begin with that they have ability to learn, that they have the ability, otherwise don't do it, right?
Yeah.
That you have the perseverance, because if you're going to be lazy and not interested, then don't join. But what we want to do is take the people that can and give them great, great career. And I think that's the future. of education is it should be able to allow people that can. It's not everybody. Let's get to where you can. And if you can, then God bless you. You should be one of the people that are the stars in our workforce.
That's amazing. Even with colleges, the way that is, okay, sometimes you have lectures with 50 people in that class. And like a professor is never going to get to you, like as not in that one-on-one sort of feel. So, anyways,
That's exactly right. And we use that in a university environment. And the way the professor works is he can see where everyone is. Those 50 students in a linear algebra training class, the professor could look at where everybody is in their progress. And he could see if somebody is looking like, wait a minute, they're working longer on this. You can go over and say, hey, what's happening? Do you need any help? So you actually get individual help. This get introduced this concept of learning in the college environment. Imagine the student, what happened when you use this, when this professor used it, the students were so excited. They said, why aren't we doing this? And they wrote a petition to the president of the university saying, this is the way we should be learning. So that's pretty interesting.
yeah. How did you find NC Labs?
The way I found it is I was a SCORE counselor. I don't know if you know SCORE. It's called Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's people like me that were very successful, and we volunteer to help entrepreneurs. And the way I found it is I was assigned this professor, and I went and met with him, and he described what he was doing, and I said, "You got to be kidding! I mean, I am going to help you." And I ended up getting involved, actually to help make the world know that there's a way to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Were
I know.
you at all in education prior to this?
No, I was not. No, I was only hiring people that were disappointingly, unable to do what I was buying, what I thought I was buying.
Have you talked to anyone, or I mean, who's gone through several? Like, I don't know if people do multiple programs or they just do one, or how that necessarily works. But do people come back actually and like, like say their thank yous, or have you talked with anyone that
Oh, they love it. People
Yeah.
just love what they do. And yes, people come back. We have advanced training. We have all of it is industry certifications because the employers want to see that you actually have known. Because I was telling you the problem about having people say I know it and they don't believe it. The employers, but with certification, then that shows that you really know the topics.
Is there anything else you would like to add to the conversation? Anything I missed, you think?
Well, I wanna make one more, one more thought, which is from an employer standpoint. One of the things we do, that assessment that I mentioned to you that determines that a person can learn and be successful before we start, we're making that available now to employers as an employment readiness assessment so that they can actually see, okay, can a person learn? Can a person apply what they learn? Can they persevere? Are they problem solvers? And, employers have the challenge today. AI writes the resumes, right? AI makes it look like, you're qualified to take the job. But, when you actually, the rubber meets the road, you're not the right person for them. And so we are now making that available to employers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How is that? Is that something new that you're looking
Yeah,
into?
very
Okay.
but it has been used for the last decade in evaluating people that could take the training. And now it's being used for people or employers finding out if people can do the job.
Gotcha. So I've been kind of curious as we were talking about this. Is there, yeah, you did mention that you sort of have like the right you want to make sure the right people are going through these programs, right? Not
Yes.
somebody that's just kind of coast or, or not take it seriously, I guess, right? But are you doing some sort of assessment, I guess, to see like where they are in their learning journey at all before they get into something?
Yes, absolutely. We will not take you into our data analytics if you don't have workplace math. So we say, okay, you've got to spend 30 hours learning workplace math. You have to have high school math. If you don't, you cannot become a data analyst.
Right.
Very
Nice.
much.
Yeah. No, I think that helps with the that accuracy of people completing it, right? Completing the program.
Yeah.
I feel like,
The skill to learn, you put the most emphasis on. Then we'll make sure that you do not start your training with something missing, because if it's missing, it's like it's the ladders, rungs in a ladder. If they're missing, you will not be successful. We don't do that.
Yeah. That's very smart. Any other final words, advice?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to do this.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining Chop and Code.
Thanks for tuning in. If today's conversation sparked new insights or challenged your thinking, we'd love to hear from you.
Visit flexion.us for more information and join us here next time on Chalk and Code.